Are you considering putting your property in the name of your kids, maybe by sale or donation, as some sort of succession planning tool?
We hear this all the time. Parents buying properties, thinking of their children's future, putting it in the names of their kids so that even as kids, they already have assets. So our question for today comes from Lani H. And she writes, Attorney, if parents sold property to one of their children, do they need other children's consent? It is useful because nowadays, one sibling can just persuade his or her parents to sell their property to him, which serves as a home to the other siblings. When the deed of sale is executed and the ownership is transferred, the sibling who bought the property can evict even his parents and even his other siblings. Kawawa naman, ano? If you were wondering about the same thing, stick around.
This video was brought to you by the free legal guide to estate settlement documents. It's a checklist of the documents you will need when settling the estate of a loved one. Grab your free copy at info.legalguide.ph/estate documents today.
Welcome to Legal Guide Philippines, where we simplify the law to help you make better choices. I'm Attorney Erwin Zagala and I'm with my partner,
Attorney Ramon Ramirez.
So today, we're talking about transferring properties in the names of our kids. How do we go about this? Good advice ba to have the siblings give their consent? Attorney Ramon, I'm sure you have a lot to share about this topic.
Sure.
So why don't we get started with giving them some tips?
All right. So, okay, guys, before we talk about Lani's question, Lani H, as a thank you for submitting your question, which was chosen today to be our episode, we will be giving you a copy of our book, Notary Not Included. Now, to claim your free book, please send us an email at info@legalguide.ph. Tapos pakilala ka and give us your details and we'll take it from there. Okay?
Congratulations.
So, congrats, Lani H.
And
Okay.
we encourage the others to keep submitting their questions at our website. Who knows, baka next episode, kayo naman yung manalo.
True. Okay, so let's go back to the question of Lani. So context setting tayo again. So first, I guess, we need to see kung ano yung nangyayari here. What is she asking? So in Lani's scenario, the parents, they have a property. And possibly this is their family home or maybe a compound. I don't know. So this is where they live, and some of the siblings, this is probably where they also live, no? So nandiyan pa rin kahit na may mga pamilya na, no?
Parang compound.
Possibly ganon. Now, it's possible, so ang tanong ni Lani, what if one of the siblings, they persuade the parents to sell itong compound or property na to dun sa isa lang? Okay, so sabi siguro si kuya successful.
Usually, kuya yan.
Which
kuya or ate yung
pinakamatanda. Usually, sa akin na lang, ibenta mo na lang sa akin. Ang worry nila what about yung other siblings? Diba? Do we need to get the consent of the other siblings? Okay? Why? Siguro to prevent from the sibling na bumili, to have too much power. Diba? So I think doon ang gagaling yung concern ni Lani. So, let's talk about her question. But to answer Lani's question directly, is the consent of yung mga kapatid. Kailangan ba?
Dapat ba magpaalam?
Yes, dapat bang magpaalam? It's first important to understand what the real intention of the parents are in selling this property.
Ano yung behind the scenes?
Yes.
Ano nangyayari?
Correct. So, is this a real sale? Why would we call it a real sale? Meron bang totoong consideration? Meron bang palitan ng pera? Okay, because this happens. This happens in the real world, wherein kung wari kinulang ng budget si parent, they offer some of their real properties to their children na para bilhin, no? And totoong sale na nangyayari, hindi siya simulated sale. Okay? So if there's actual consideration, then it is the consent of the siblings to that transaction, hindi kailangan. Okay? Why? Because that transaction, that sale of the property ni parents to one of the kids, no? And it's a real sale, that's just between them. It's between the parents and one of the children. Okay? So, why is this? It's important to understand. Sino bang owner ng property, attorney?
Parents.
So, if it's the parents who own the property, they have certain rights. They enjoy certain rights as the owners of the property. Um, so ano ba yung mga usual rights ng owners in the property?
Right to improve or
Yes.
right to make use of.
Exactly.
And of course, the
Right-
right to dispose.
Yes, di ba? So, right to dispose. In law, we when we were studying law, we call this jus disponendi.
Wow.
Yan.
Isa pa nga, isa pa nga.
Jus disponendi.
Wow. Sounds
So,
fancy.
Sounds fancy, but it just means no, it's the right of the owner to dispose of the property however which way they want to, as long as it's within the bounds of the law.
Ako may-ari, pwede ko ibenta.
Yes,
That's it.
exactly.
Mhm.
Eh, kailangan bang pumayag ang mga anak nila, the other kids?
Ano pa kinyo? Akin to eh.
Yes.
Parang gano'n ang
Alright.
sinasabi ng batas
Exactly.
with regard to this.
Okay? So, the siblings or the kids who are living in that property, they're not necessarily entitled to, they're not entitled to the property yet. Okay? They don't enjoy any ownership rights to this property. Okay?
Ma, di ba ipapamana mo sa akin yan? Ba't ko naman ibibenta? Baka ganun siguro ang iniisip.
Posible naman.
Posible,
That's probably
oo.
where Lani is coming from. But again, let's go back. Kailan mapupunta sa kanila yung property?
Kailan ako magkakakarapatan to
Yes.
have a say?
Yes.
Kapag in-inherit ko na.
Yes.
Diba?
Oo. So, at this point, this is
Buhay pa pare.
buhay pa eh. No? At this point, yung pinoproblema ng other siblings who are living in that compound or in that property, what they have is just an inchoate right. Okay?
Inchoate.
Ang dami na, meron naman tayong bagong term, no?
Isa pa nga.
Inchoate.
Oh,
Inchoate.
okay.
I hope it's there. You can read it. Inchoate. No. So what is inchoate? It's a legal right or entitlement that is in progress or hindi pa vested or not yet perfected.
In other words, coming soon.
Coming soon pa
Oh.
lang. Okay? So may expectancy but hindi necessarily na baka makuha niya. Kasi may mga certain things na hindi pa kompleto. In this case, kung inheritance, hindi pa patay yung parents eh. So, hindi yung expectancy ka pa lang.
And it's a real sale, not a simulated sale.
Yes.
So, kumbaga, premature na mag-object ka dyan. Wala ka pa kasing say dyan.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
okay.
So it's important also that what we're talking about here is a real sale. Okay. So that's for a sale. Ano naman, Attorney Erwin, kung donation? Okay.
Okay. As owner, totoo naman may karapatan ka to donate.
Yes.
Diba? As an owner, it's one of your given rights under the law.
Yan. Thank you, Attorney Erwin. So we're coming to our second point. The first one is the sale. Now we're talking about donation. In donation,
You had a fancy term sa sale. Malamang may fancy term ka na naman dito pag donation naman.
ano kaya yun, Attorney Erwin?
Ha? Ano nga ba? Parang goose din naman yan.
Who's that?
Goose.
Well, yes. Again, what's the general rule, Attorney Erwin? If you own something, you enjoy rights of ownership.
Yes.
Di ba? Which includes, sabi mo nga, mga right to improve, right to possess,
To make use
right
of,
to make
and
use
to
of.
dispose.
Yeah. And yung use disponendi natin or right to dispose. So,
yun pa rin.
yung pa rin. Oo.
Whether it's sale or donation, it's the same.
Again, I can, if it's my property, I have the right to dispose of it by donating it to anyone, di ba? So the general rule, guys, even if it's a donation, kumari, paborito talaga si kuya or si ate or si bunso. Di ba? Bakit wala yung gitna? So yeah, in this case, para sa mga middle child, in this example, kumari, paborito si middle child. Di ba? Binigay sa kanya, dinonate sa kanya. General rule is, pwede naman. Okay? Kailangan ng consent ng siblings? General rule, again, no. Because it's a donation between the parents and yung middle child na paborito. Okay? So, generally, hindi kailangan ng consent. However, when it comes to donations, no, it gets a little more complicated. Kasi with sale, very very clear, lalo na if it's a real sale, may
real sale
consideration.
talaga nagbayaran.
Yeah, it's what you call what do you call this? Arm's length. No, ibig sabihin, ito yung value ng property, ito yung tingin kong worth niyan, ito yung babayaran ko, dad, o ma'am. Okay? And then kuha naman nila yung cash. No problem, di ba? It's as if third parties yung hindi magkamag-anak yung nag-transact. In a donation, it's different. No? So, what does the Civil Code say about donations? We have Article 752 of the Civil Code. Okay, and in that provision, so what does it say? No. So notwithstanding Article 750, which deals with with the donation. Okay, no person may give or receive by way of donation more than he may give or receive by will.
So may cap.
May cap. Oo, okay.
Okay.
So, kung wari, pwede tayo magdo-donate tayo ng ating ari-arian, hindi pwedeng ang limit ng pwede nating i-donate is only yung pwede nating i-donate kung wari meron tayong will. Okay? And just let's have a review. Ano ba why is it important? Bakit na may mention tong will, Attorney Erwin?
Kasi under the will, may mga certain percentages or
Yes.
maximum na pwede matanggap per heir.
Yes, correct.
Kung nag-donate ka, tapos lumagpas ka doon, medyo may problema
Yes,
tayo.
tama. We go back to the concept of the compulsory heirs. Sino ba yung mga compulsory heirs natin? Yung mga VIP natin when it comes to estate to succession.
Sa ayaw mo't sa hindi, kasama sa usapan.
Yes, and sino nga yun? I hope you remember, it's yung children, di ba? Or yung descendants, legitimate descendants. It's also your legitimate ascendants, if ever walang children. And then, your surviving spouse. So, these guys are very important. Ngayon, if you're going to, and this provision is a protection for them. Remember, palagi silang kasama sa usapan. Now, if you give everything away, paano na matatanggap ng mga taong to?
So, it's as if parang walang effect yung pagiging compulsory nila.
Yes.
Kasi naubos na eh.
Yes. So, this is the law's way of preventing yung circumvention na requirement na dapat yung compulsory heirs will receive.
Siguro galit na galit sa compulsory heir. Bastos kang kausap, sumasagot ka sa akin. Pamimigay ko na lahat. Para pag namatay ako,
wala kayong matatanggap.
Yun.
Yan, okay. And this is the protection of our compulsory heirs. The compulsory heirs are very important under our laws. Okay? So, now, yun yung limitation natin when it comes to a donation. And relate this to another concept that we talked about before, which is what we call collation.
Fancy word. Isa pa?
Ang dami ko ng fancy words today.
Isa pa.
Collation.
Collation.
I hope nilalagay nila dyan. No? So, I'm sure may may text dyan. So,
Attorney naman, ano ibig sabihin ng collation?
Collation. Okay, so what happens in a collation is, remember what did we say, compulsory heirs?
Dapat kasama.
Dapat and bukod sa dapat kasama sila,
may natatanggap.
May minimum silang dapat natatanggap.
Yes.
Right? So, in the lifetime of our decedent, let's say, kung yung parent natin who died or whatever, baka may mga pinamigay na siya sa kanyang mga compulsory heirs. Diba? Wherein, kaunti na lang yung natira dun sa nakapangalan kay parent na namatay, no? So under the law may concept tayo of bringing back yung mga ipinamigay niya or mga dinonate ni decedent sa computation ng estate.
Kinokulate
pabalik. So kinokulate pabalik. Okay? So it's a very important thing that's done during estate settlement procedures, no? So it's a little more complicated when we donate properties to our kids, no? Because it may be the subject later on of collation. Now going back to yung question ni Lani, maybe in terms of getting consent, this may be protection for the person na pinagbigyan ng properties, no? Having some form of consent in the document, in the transfer document.
Hindi siya babalikan later on. Sumobra yan.
Yes.
Alam naman ninyo yung nangyari. Parang hindi siya magiging subject to collation.
Right.
Okay.
So not necessarily foolproof, but it is a possible protection para dun sa pinagbigyan. Dun in our example para kay middle child na paborito. Okay.
No matter how improbable.
Unlikely. Joke lang sa mga middle kids. Okay.
Ako kasi panganay at bunso eh.
Oo nga.
Ikaw?
Ako panganay ako.
Walang middle sa atin.
Wala. Okay. Now, so how do we determine if donation is the best way or how to protect yourself from collation later on? Guys, you will need a lawyer to determine this for you. Okay? So please consult your lawyer so that they can make that determination. Okay, protected tayo if we do a donation.
Not that simple kasi maiba lang yung isang fact, iba na yung outcome niyan.
That's true. Like kung it makes true yung danger ng collation if the only property is that compound. What if that property or that compound is just 1% of yung estate? Then it won't it probably won't matter.
If it's
Diba?
100%, patayan tayo niyan
Yes.
kapag ano.
Oo. So there's that, no, and you will need a lawyer to make that determination
Yes.
for you or to help you make that determination. Okay, next point. What is the we need to determine what is the real intention again, no? So ano yung una possible intention is sale.
Mhm.
Another possible intention is donation, and we talked about that. But what if the intention is really just for convenience nung for of the parties, logistical ang rason kung bakit itina-transfer.
Nako, pag nawala na ako, wala na mag-aasikaso ng papeles eh.
Oo, si kuya nyo lang ang maayos. So maayos kausap yan. So siya na lang, ipapangalan ko na lang kay kuya nyo.
Kuya nang bahala sa
Kuya
inyo.
nang bahala sa inyo mag-transfer ha. And guys, this happens, no? So a property is being transferred to only one of the siblings because they perceive it to be simpler. O mas simple na isa na lang ang kausap. Ganyan. And then responsable naman yan si kuya and siya na lang bahala. So it happens, no? We see this happening a lot. So I'm sure that this kind of reasoning made sense at the time. No, but guys, we invite you to look at all the angles before putting the property in the name of just one person. Okay? When the true intention is it's supposed to be in the name of all your kids. Pero parang para simple na lang transfer sa one person. Please revisit that. And because so many things can happen. What's one thing that may happen? If that child dies and hindi pa nata-transfer yung, hindi niya pa naaasikaso yung transfer sa kanya
sa kapatid.
Mga kapatid.
Bababa yun sa pamilya niya exclusively.
Yes, exclusively. Hindi compulsory heirs ang kapatid. So, pagmamayari na yun nung misis at nung mga anak ni...
Bahala na kayo magabot.
Exactly. So,
may isa pa ako senaryo.
ano pa yung senaryo mo?
Pinag-away magkakapatid. Patay ka kayo.
Yes.
Diba?
Ginamit pa ni our example, si kuya. Ginamit pa ni kuya na pang leverage niya against yung mga mga kapatid niya. Guys, so many things can happen. No? So again, please revisit. Again, consult your lawyer and ask them, is this the right way to go about it? No? Talaga bang mas simple pag sa isang tao na lang nakapangalan yung property? Okay, next point. I want to talk about the concept of transferring properties to your kids in the first place. No, you putting it in their names. Is it really a good thing? Okay, let's examine your motivations for doing so. Say, was it recommended by your kumare lang, which on the other hand was recommended by their other kumare who is a litigation lawyer.
Si kumaring Marites yan.
Oo, di ba? So, ano ba yun? Kanino galing yun? And what were their motivations for doing so? Because kung ano man yung ginawa for your kumare, baka naman iba yung factual scenarios or considerations than yours, no? Ang usual na na-experience namin in terms of yung motivations for why you would want to transfer the property in the name of your kids prematurely is usually tax-related. So, remember in our previous episode where we compared yung sale versus donation, we discussed there, no? So, a lot of people try to transfer the properties prematurely because they want to avoid yung very big estate tax in the future. So, ita-transfer ko na ngayon pa lang. So that
asikasuhin na.
Asikasuhin. Ngayon na lang, transfer na natin para maliit lang ang bayad. Okay? So if you're afraid of the estate tax and it's very tax driven, we invite you to make that calculation. Okay? So
magkaalaman na talaga kung totoo nga ba yung conception mo na makakamura.
Exactly. We discussed this before, but our estate tax laws have been changed. No? So the rate for estate tax is a lot smaller than what it was before. And the deductions that are available under estate tax are bigger to a certain extent. No? So if we invite you to make that calculation kung estate tax ang problema nyo and see, talaga bang mas advantageous to transfer the properties now as opposed to preparing for the estate tax.
I think we discussed this extensively in our other video, Atty. Ramon, diba? Na talagang dun, we discussed point by point. Ano nga ba talaga yung advantage, disadvantage?
Yes.
And parang dun sa video yun, given the tax laws we have right now, mas pabor pa hintayin mo na lang yung estate tax. Kasi
Yes.
ang daming deduction.
Yes. So it really happens na mas maliit pa yung babayaran ng estate tax.
Minsan nga wala pa.
Minsan
Diba?
exempt pa, no? So it happens. No? So again, you would benefit by making that calculation before you transfer it, no? So it's not, so I want to take you guys away from that automatic thinking na i-transfer ko na ngayon para iwas tayo ng tax. 'Di ba?
Wag makinig kay Marites. Makinig sa abogado.
Right. Now, another consideration that we would like to invite you to, what we would like to invite you to look at is the effects of transferring the property. Whether you do it by sale or donation or whatnot, what are you doing? You're giving up ownership of that property. Okay? So kung binenta nyo yan sa inyong paboritong anak, you're giving up ownership of that. You're giving up ownership rights over that property. Okay? What does this mean, Attorney Erwin? It means they can,
the rights that you used to enjoy, tinransfer na sa kanya. And that includes
the right to kick you out. So yung sinasabi ni Lani H na baka mapaalis yung parents and yung other siblings.
Totoo yun.
That's true. That can happen. Or they can pwede lang isangla yung property, they can mortgage it, they can sell it for less than its value. Kung wari, drug addict yung anak ko pala, and binenta for much less
para lang
may cash. Pwedeng mangyari yun.
Or ito, dinonate sa ibang tao or sa ibang organization.
Right. Oo. Kung to their favorite religious organization. I don't know.
Or civic organization. Wala kang magagawa.
Even if, you worked hard to have that property. So, again, going back, diba? If the parents had used disponendi, if you sell that property to your child, they will enjoy those rights, including yung use disponendi.
Whatever you guys could do before, that person can now do.
Yes, exactly. Now, so guys, there's a lot of considerations, no? But what we're trying to do is please revisit. No, let's not automatically think the best way to give our kids a future is transfer properties in their name. No?
Kumbaga outdated na yung ganung thinking.
Yes.
Pero usong-uso yan before, lalo na sa older generation.
Yeah.
Lagi ko narinig yan. But given the changes in the tax law and how things are right now, please take this moment to reconsider.
Yes. No, again, like we've been saying earlier, please, in all cases, consult your lawyer before making any decision to transfer properties in the name of your children. Okay? So, Attorney Aaron, marami tayong pinag-usapan. Would you like to give our people, our listeners a recap?
Most certainly. So the first thing we talked about is the concept of jus disponendi. Ayan. So the ability to transfer or dispose of your property. Now, in relation to this, kung sakaling ibibenta naman using sale, totoo ba yung sale? Talaga bang nagpalitan ng pera? Kasi if it is, wala tayong magagawa dyan.
Hindi kailangan
totoong
ng consent.
sale yun. Oo. It's as if binenta nga sa ibang tao, parang ganun ang dating. Diba? So, consent is not needed. Now, yung sa pangalawang version naman, which is donation. If it is intended as a real donation, consent also generally not required. However, there is a cap. Kasi nga pag donation, we have to take into account na pwede siyang maging subject to collation. So, you cannot donate more than what you would have received in a will.
Yes.
Para walang issues. Next, we talked about succession planning or convenience. Kung succession planning naman ang pinag-uusapan, maganda mag-usap-usap na lang. In this case, the consent and, the information of the other siblings would definitely be a plus. Again, Attorney Ramon, you mentioned it may not be foolproof.
Yes.
Pero kahit papano, may laban.
It gives an indication, di ba? May consent.
But if you want to make it more solid or, kumbaga, with legal backing, do consult a lawyer para hindi kayo nalalagay sa peligro. Mahirap kasi yung kayo-kayo lang gumagawa. Pwede namang magtanong.
Yes.
And then finally, is transferring property to your kid's name always a good thing? You might want to think about it kasi kunwari logistically para madali lang maasikaso. Or for tax implication purposes, makakamura tayo. Think again. Again, you might want to consider consulting a lawyer. That way, you can be assured that your interpretation and your implementation of the law is appropriate to your situation.
For most of you, this video was more than enough. And if it makes your life easier, then you're welcome. Now, there are some of you who will watch this video and end up asking even more questions, such as, Attorney, what documents do we need to prepare in case our parents die and they have properties left behind? Or what if they don't own just real properties, they also have shares of stock? Or, Attorney, what other properties should be included in the estate? Now, if that's you, then we invite you to check out our free legal guide to estate settlement documents. It's a checklist of the documents you will need when settling the estate of your loved one. Grab your free copy at info.legalguide.ph/estate documents today.
Now, to add to that, if you want us to tackle your question in our show as we did for Lani, go to www.legalguide.ph and click the Submit Topic button. Next, we'd like to know what's your biggest takeaway from today's video. So please write it down in the comments and let's talk about it. Last, if you feel we've earned a good rating, please give us a like and subscribe because it gives us feedback that we're doing a good job and it encourages us to do more videos.
Now, one last thing, guys. To the parents out there, now your property is your property. They don't belong to your children yet. You work hard to acquire them, so enjoy them first. If we transfer property to them, let's examine our intentions and seek the proper counsel before making your move. Now, to the children out there who will inherit, your parents' properties are not yours yet, even if you might inherit them someday. So, know your rights, but at the same time, let's try to build our lives in such a way that where we will not rely on our inheritance. So, wasn't that simple? Now, go make better choices.